switched on. Let's talk about that then. Who does and doesn't deserve an honour from the Queen? Should Nick Clegg, for example, receive a knighthood? And, as I mentioned, should Lewis Hamilton be stripped of his MBE? Well, let's speak now to Mark Llewellyn-Slade, who's an honours and awards expert, and he joins me on the line now. Good morning, Mark.
Morning, Sally.
Just tell me then, what kind of criteria do you think is gone through when it's decided who gets an honour?
Well, there's two types of people that tend to get honours. Firstly, selfless giving people, such as community and charity workers and philanthropists. And secondly, those who have excelled in their chosen field, such as eminent surgeons, academics, business leaders, entrepreneurs, and that kind of thing. It's often the famous actors and pop stars and sports supremos that get the headlines. But about 80% of honours go to what I describe as extraordinary, ordinary people. So that's where the focus really lies with the honours system.
So those 80%, though, aren't necessarily the people we hear about unless they happen to come from our local area, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. And the million-dollar question is, have these people gone above and beyond the call of duty? Because people don't get honours for simply doing their job, or at least they shouldn't. And, of course, you have to be in it to win it, and people can't nominate themselves. So if you or your listeners know of somebody that they feel is worthy, then put them forward. You can nominate friends, family members, business and community contacts, but you have to put pen to paper, as it were. You have to download the form and make it happen.
So what you're saying, I suppose, is we can't complain about the fact that people are getting honours that we might not think deserve them if we're not doing anything to make sure that those other people get them.
Exactly. It's about taking action and doing something about it. If you know somebody who's working tirelessly in their community and doing great things to the benefit of others, then make sure they get the recognition they deserve, because it will motivate them to go on to greater things, usually. And also it'll motivate other people to follow suit as well.
And what a way to say thank you to people, those people that we might see every day who genuinely make a difference to our lives.
Yeah, and, you know, earlier this year, Theresa May made a very important announcement regarding the honours. She said that from now on, she wants to highlight and reward people in 5 priority areas. And those areas are people that boost the economy, so entrepreneurs and business leaders, that kind of thing, but also people who support youngsters in achieving their potential, also those that aid social mobility, those that help local communities, and also people who tackle discrimination. So we know what she's looking for, and if your listeners know people that fit any of those 5 categories, then they should make the effort to nominate those people.
Let's talk about this year's then, Mark. We don't yet know who is going to be awarded an honour. That's a closely guarded secret, isn't it? But there is talk of Nick Clegg getting one. Remind us what that would be for, then.
Well, for being Deputy Prime Minister for 5 years, basically.
But that's just his job, isn't it?
It is, and this is where the debate lies here. Has Nick Clegg gone above and beyond the call of duty? Now, you know, I'm sure some of your listeners will say he was a brilliant Deputy Prime Minister, and others will say, you know, he was no great shakes. But it's down to the Honours Secretariat, the department at the Cabinet Office, to make that call. And it's a team of experts who know about these things, who will make that ultimate decision. You know, the same with Ringo Starr. He's rumoured to be upgraded this time round from an MBE straight to a knighthood. Now, he was a member of perhaps the most successful pop band of all time, the Beatles. Paul McCartney.
He was very good with the Thomas the Tank Engine voiceovers as well, wasn't he?
There you go. Don't forget that as well, Sally. You know, and to be fair, Paul McCartney got his knighthood 20-odd years ago. So, you know, the debate's there. You know, should Ringo be upgraded or not? And, you know, my money's on super vet Noel Fitzpatrick to get something as well. I mean, he's done a lot to help animals. He was the first surgeon to apply an amputation prosthesis to a cat. The cat was named Oscar, I believe. So yeah, my money's on him. Roger Federer's another one. He's Swiss, of course, but that just highlights the fact that anyone based anywhere in the world can be nominated for a UK honour.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a British citizen or even live in the UK. And he's won 19 Grand Slam titles and just about everything else that can be won in tennis.
Well, let's see if you're right, Mark. How many people actually get honours every year, roughly? I'm sure it's not the same number every year.
Roughly 2,000 to 2,500.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, so a fair old number. And it's a bit like a pyramid in that, you know, at the top you've got knighthood and damehood, and not very many people get those. And then it goes down CBE, OBE, MBE, and then the British Empire Medal at the bottom.
Just briefly, let's talk about the subject of being stripped of your knighthood. For example, Lewis Hamilton. I mean, that's a big deal. I suspect this won't happen after what was quite a small... I mean, it certainly set ripples going in the social media world, and quite rightly, because I don't think he should have said it to that little lad. But really, stripping somebody of an MBE is a big deal, isn't it?
It is, and the decision is down to the Honours Forfeiture Committee, quite a mouthful. It's their job to make that call. It's an ad hoc committee set up by, or headed by, a guy called Sir Jeremy Hayward. He's the head of the civil service. And if their recommendation is that the honour should be withdrawn, that recommendation is sent to the Queen via the Prime Minister, who makes the final call. And then there's two black and white reasons why someone should be stripped of their honour, although the overriding question is, has that person brought the honour system into disrepute? And the first reason someone could be stripped of their gong is if they were sent to prison for at least 3 months for a criminal offence. And secondly, if they were censored or struck off by a professional or regulatory body for something that directly relates to what they got their honour for. So those are the main reasons. And only 114 people have ever been stripped of their honour, and that's over, 100 years. Most recent, I think, was Rolf Harris. Right, okay. And that's unceremoniously done, I imagine, isn't it? You don't go through any ceremony like you would for actually getting one. Oh gosh, no, they wouldn't go to any great trouble to do that. It's people like Robert Mugabe and Nikolai Ceausescu. They lost their honours. Jockey Lester Piggott was stripped of his OBE back in 1987 for tax fraud. A bit more recently, the Royal Bank of Scotland boss Fred Goodwin was stripped of his knighthood for his role in the bank's near collapse. And what's your prediction for Lewis Hamilton, then, whether that should happen to him? Because certainly people have called for that on social media, but in terms of the people you just mentioned there, it compares, it's small fry, isn't it, what he's done? Yeah, I think I agree with your last listener who said, political correctness gone a little bit mad here. I think you have to remember what Lewis Hamilton has achieved within motor racing and what he's achieved for Britain over the years. He is certainly a leader in his field. He's at the top of his game. He's well worthy of an MBE, if not higher. And, when you're in the public eye, you're there to be shot at, but I really think it's a bit of a storm in a teacup, to be honest. Mark, it's been fascinating to speak to you, and I've certainly learnt a lot. Let's see, then, if your predictions are correct when we find out in just a few days' time. Thanks very much for joining me. You're welcome, Sally. That's Mark Llewellyn-Slade. He's an honours and awards expert ahead of those New Year's honours that will be announced then, of course, in about 4 days' time. What are we now? The 28th of December. It's New Year's Day on Monday, so we'll wake up to that news about who's got an honour, and certainly the people who've got an honour in our area. It's just gone 1:45.